My name is Emile Vidal Carr and I am a fashion designer. I've been in the business for 15, 16 years now. So Stitch the Pitch is a project that is designed to help specifically under 18-year-old men and women get into the fashion industry and ideally start from the sewing side and then also learn certain aspects of the business side. What inspired me to get into fashion was just the freedom to be creative. I started out doing music and art when I was probably about 16 years old, and it got to the point where I was quite bored of it, and I wanted to do something that still allowed me to be creative but also would allow me to make money. So my mother, who was a dressmaker, I grew up in a household seeing her make clothes, and I just asked her to show me what she was doing, and I just fell in love with the process after making my first garment, and yeah, that was it. I was learning the drums and guitar, and then I was studying more fine art at A-level, and I guess those two creative aspects kind of set the ground for me to be in the fashion industry, because even when I told my friends I was going into fashion, they thought it was such a weird thing, because I was the last person who thought would do that. But I've always been very clear on when I make a decision, you know, that's what I'm gonna do. So, after my A-levels, I did a foundation degree at Camberwell College of Arts, which I didn't enjoy, nothing to do with the college itself. I just wanted to go straight into doing the fashion degree, so I felt my time at Camberwell was a bit wasted. And then after that, I spent 2 years doing my FDA at London College of Fashion in design and marketing, and after that, just went straight into working for myself, pretty much. Well, when I made my very first thing, I was about 13, because you have those textiles classes in, I think, in year 9. And funny enough, I hated the idea of being on a sewing machine. Well, I've worked with quite a few celebrities, but in terms of the brands that I've worked with, I've spent a short time at McQueen, Kanye West, Roland Murray. I did a very short spell at Victoria Beckham, and I was part of the team that did the 2012 Australian Olympic team uniforms when it was in London. So that was a really inspiring project. What I'm most proud of, I think the amount that I learned from each of those projects, because take away the name that you worked for, if there's one of those companies that I actually hated working for, but all the rest, there was so much knowledge to gain, because I'm working with other machinists that are, you know, they've got 4 years experience on me. So I'm just sitting there absorbing all this information and trying to think of how I can take bits from how these companies run their brands and how I can run mine. Yeah, you have to embrace your mistakes, and I'm always very honest with people, especially young people, the areas of my life that haven't gone so well, because I don't believe that you're being true to yourself even, let alone being true to them. Because I think the whole social media kind of game, everyone, it's all about the highlight reel. And no one's really honest to say, this is where I went wrong. And even though certain things I've done, I'm not proud of it, but then I have to say, this is what happened, and this has led me to where I am today. My two main role models was my older sister. She doesn't realise how much of an impact she's had in my life, and I guess she's taught me to be focused and very sure in my decisions. And then the other mentor I had was a guy called Calvin Rattray, who owns a chain of salons in London, and he just really showed me about how to conduct myself as a good business person. So, I think even down to the way I like to define myself, it's not even as a fashion designer. I prefer to call myself a businessman. Because I'd like to take my skills and transfer them into other things also. And I think, like I said, it's been about mistakes, and that's kind of helped me discipline myself to look at the figures and not overspend, and know who to hire to help me fulfill the project. Yeah, got lots of machines here. Depending on the time of the year, the schedule that comes in, I'll hire freelancers to help me with the workload, and then other times of the year, I'll be working on my own. I think what's the most challenging about working in the fashion industry is that there's not really much help. It's quite a guarded industry. So if you make it, then great. But people aren't really willing to sit you down and hold your hand through the process. So the idea of the Stitch to Pitch product is to introduce young people to the fashion industry, hopefully, and just show them that they can succeed, and it's not what Ugly Betty might have shown, or what their opinion on what it's like at Vogue. It should be very open if you have the interest to be in the business. So the Stitch to Pitch project started about 9 years ago. Through an unfortunate incident that I went through. I spent 4 months on remand after being wrongfully arrested. I had some business partners that did some stuff on the side that they got caught up in. And at the time they were doing this whole joint venture project, so I got caught up in that. So I eventually lost my first company because I'd been away for so long, and by the time I got back, the rent hadn't been paid in the office, and so I had to start again, and it was really, really humbling. But whilst I was on remand, I wrote the project. I wrote the idea for Stitch to Pitch, and then when I got released, I trialled the initiative with the Ranger Housing Association, and they really loved it. So over the years, we've been fine-tuning it, and then in the past 2 years, I sat down with the British Fashion Council and UK Fashion and Textiles body, and they've kind of mentored me in terms of what direction to go to get the project up and running. So now ABC, examining body, have agreed to credit the project. So from January 2019, we want to start it. And ideally take it across the country. The project is specifically aimed at under 18s, and more under 18s from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And partially it's aimed at black boys also, because even though the experience I went through, I was fortunate enough that I was A, found not guilty, so I don't have a criminal record, and B, I was able to bounce back from that, because going from running a company that was selling in Topshop, ASOS, Alders and New York, and losing all of that, and then having to start again, that was very difficult for me to go through. So through, I guess, partly sheer luck as well, because sheer luck and having a family that supported me to get me back to the stage I was. Some people don't have that. So this is where the idea of the project is to give young people a helping hand and just show them that there is another way you can express yourself creatively, because there's projects like this in music, sports, cooking, but from what I'm aware of, there's nothing like this in the fashion industry. I mean, the ironic thing is, my parents, they are, well, I was born in Sierra Leone, and so my parents. So when I went to them and told them I wanted to do a fashion degree, I think they're more perplexed, if anything, and they hadn't really known people to make money in the creative field. So it's not that they weren't impressed, they were just a bit concerned as to whether or not I was making the right decision. But like I said, I've always been very clear with my decision making, so whether or not I had their support, I was still going to do what I'd set out to do. And then a few years down the line, as they saw I was really serious about what I was doing, they too gave me more of their support. Because it's not that they never did support me, they just always wanted the best for me. So Yeah, my little one, I guess whatever she wants to do within reason, we're happy to support her, and we're opening her up to loads of different things, like taking her to ballet. We're going to try and do football next year, so she can make the decision that she wants to go down a particular path, and hopefully through the connections that my wife and I have over the years will assist her, but we won't spoon feed her. I think the most defining moment in my career has been the issue I had with the court case back in 2009, because that could have either made or broken me. I think because I grew up in a very strict household, going into the whole prison regime of being in your cell 23 hours a day, that didn't really bother me because I didn't really go out anyway. I never got into fashion to kind of be wild, and I never really did the whole raving scene. I think with that experience, it was, if anything happened to my family once I was in there, that worried me, and because I was facing, I think, 5 to 7 years for essentially being accused as a drug dealer, that was quite scary because that would have set me back hugely. So fortunately, through God's good grace, I was able to clear my name and then eventually start again. So. Yeah, I think if I came across any young men, women that had a brush with the law, I'd probably advise them to remain humble and not to deviate from just a simple path, really, because you can be thrown into situations that aren't really of your calling or that you don't expect, but it can be made worse by how you react to it. So it's always about trying to maintain self-discipline and hoping that the truth will prevail. Really, I don't have regrets. I don't really believe in them. That sounds a bit weird, but I think of all of the bad situations I've been through, I'll happily go through them again because it shaped me into the individual that I am today. And life isn't like a merry-go-round. There has to be highs and lows, and you have to be willing to embrace the lows and come through it to enjoy the highs. So the most important bit of advice I'd give to my younger self would be not to worry about making mistakes, because ultimately, you have to make those mistakes to learn. You can't just start something and be an expert at it, and it has to take time, so you have to also have patience also. So far, my biggest success has, apart from becoming a father and being a husband, has been this project Stitch the Pitch, because I firmly believe that it would help young people just be free, really. And when you are creative, there's a different side of you that comes out. That expressionism. Does that even make sense? Well, I guess the whole idea of Stitch the Pitch in terms of my schedule isn't really laborious. It doesn't really require much more time than I dedicate anyway. In terms of the actual implementation of the project, it will start on weekends. Because I have a dedicated tutor that will run the classes, and then we'll assess it after 3-4 months and see what avenues we're going to take afterwards and how we're going to expand from there. Yeah, I think it has had an effect in terms of model choices for particular brands. But I think in terms of my personal experience, I haven't really experienced it. And even if I did, it's not something that I would pay attention to, because I believe that there's always going to be some obstacle that you're going to have to deal with in life, and it shouldn't stop you from achieving what you want to. I think that one of the main obstacles I've come across has been trying to be king of cash flow, because even if you're not a business person, you have to be able to manage your finances in the right way. And being a creative, there's always that new thing that you want to buy and you think that will make you better as as an artist. But I think for me, I've always tried to focus on my finishing, and then if I do get a nice piece of equipment, then that just helps the process, but it doesn't define my creativity or make me better just because of it. I'd say the one time in my career that I wanted to quit was when I was in year 2 of my degree. And I remember being on the phone to my mum, literally crying because I'd just been part of a really harsh critique. And I thought that, if this is what the fashion industry is like, just being so toxic and critical, I don't want to be a part of it. And I'm quite a thick-skinned person. I always tell people to tell me what's bad about my work, because telling me the good parts, it doesn't improve me. So after being on the phone to my mum, who was, again, she wasn't really sure if fashion was the way for me to go anyway. And tell her that I was going to quit, that wasn't a direction I was going to go in anyway. So I decided to make sure that I passed my modules at the very minimum and focus the rest of my time on setting up my brand so that when I graduated, I was straight into working for myself. And also, even when I speak to young people now, I never tell them that that's what they've created is bad. It always is about how them to technically improve on the design, because bad things still sell. I think especially with our industry, people can just fill you with hot air. And if you don't have people around you that are real with you, then you're always going to plateau. And in terms of the father I had, being a very strict person, I'm used to being told that I need to improve. There was a time when I was selling in Topshop where I had these 2 clients that they had no idea who I was. They were standing by my clothes and they were just slating it. And that was really hurtful. But then I went home that night, and over the next few weeks I kind of thought, let me just not be so precious and uptight about what they said. Let me just take what they have said and kind of spin it and rework it into the new collection so that it is better, and hopefully I can try and sell to them. To keep myself motivated, I generally just get on the machine, create something new, because it just helps me stay humble and get back to the roots of how I got in the industry. Takes away all the fancy stuff. So in the future, in terms of the Emile Vidal Carr brand, we're trying to achieve 50 international concessions and then look to open a store. Then with regards to the Stitch to Pitch project, we want to take it more national and hopefully start within the prison service. Because I know a few prisons in London that actually have dedicated textile workshops. And in terms of the whole business side, I'd like to set up like a holding company that acts as a parent or mentor to start brands in the same way that Kering does in what they have going on with McQueen, Stan McCartney, Becky Williamson, and just use the resources that I have to help other brands basically grow.